Welcome to The Explainer. I am so excited to jump into this today because we are tackling what is arguably the biggest question in tech and finance right now. Are we in the middle of a massive, genuine AI boom? Are we inflating a dot-com-style speculative bubble? Or are we just finally hitting a cold, hard wall of reality? We're going to break down some of the latest cutting-edge research to figure out exactly where we stand.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the boom versus bubble debate. Then, we'll dive into what's known as the trough of disillusionment. After that, we'll tackle data readiness and governance, look ahead at the rise of multimodal AI, and finally, wrap up with a strategic roadmap to actual ROI. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. AI, boom or speculative bubble. So, practically everybody is comparing today's AI gold rush to the late 90s dot-com boom. And, it's a completely natural comparison, right? But if we ground this in some heavy-hitting macroeconomic research from the Amundi Investment Institute, the reality is a bit surprising. Despite the absolutely incredible rally we've seen in AI-related stocks, their analysis shows that this current market actually lacks the explosive valuation dynamics that you typically see right before a late-stage bubble pops. Basically, the market isn't just blindly throwing money at anything with an AI sticker on it, at least not in the exact same way it did with dot-coms.
Now, that doesn't mean we're totally in the clear. We might not be in a classic volatile bubble, but there is a very real threat right now, and that is concentration risk. What Amundi found is that a really narrow, tight group of AI stocks is driving a disproportionately huge share of total index returns. What does that mean for you? Well, it means that even if you have a standard, supposedly diversified equity portfolio, you probably have massive, hidden exposure to the AI factor. Seriously, if you think you're perfectly diversified right now, you might want to look under the hood.
Section 2. Entering the trough of disillusionment.
All right, so if the broader stock market isn't popping, what's happening on the ground inside the actual companies trying to implement this tech? Well, Gartner's highly respected 2025 AI hype cycle gives us a brilliant picture of this. Generative AI, which literally just a minute ago was sitting at the very peak of inflated expectations, has plummeted straight down into the trough of disillusionment. And let's be honest, that sounds like a terrible place to be. The honeymoon phase? It's over. Those early pilots and flashy demos were super cool, but as companies actually try to push these models into full-scale production, they're hitting a harsh wall of soaring costs, reliability issues, and just massive integration headaches.
And nothing captures that harsh reality quite like this number right here, $1.9 million. That is the average amount organizations invested into AI initiatives in 2024. And the payoff? Less than 30% of CEOs say they're actually satisfied with the returns on that investment. We are seeing a huge, glaring disconnect between the capital being deployed and the actual value being realized.
Section 3. Data readiness and governance gaps.
So why exactly are those CEOs so disappointed? It honestly comes down to the unsexy friction of implementation. Gartner points to data readiness as the absolute #1 barrier to AI maturity. Get this, a staggering 57% of organizations flat out admit their data is simply not AI ready. They are dealing with fragmented pipelines, messy data quality, and zero structure. And you know what happens when you feed bad, uncontextualized data into an incredibly advanced AI model? You don't get magic. You get amplified bias, compounding errors, and some very serious financial risks.
And that brings us to a piece of critical jargon that you absolutely need to know. AI TRISM. It stands for Trust, Risk, and Security Management. Here's the deal. As AI gets woven deeper and deeper into everyday business processes, standard IT security just isn't cutting it anymore. A regular firewall cannot fix model drift, and it definitely cannot stop an AI from hallucinating completely false information. AI TRISM is the specific, essential framework you need to keep these systems fair, reliable, and legally compliant.
You can basically think of AI TRISM as a vital, necessary shield for your business. In fact, Gartner makes a really powerful point here. Building this governance shield into your overall strategy is literally just as important as picking which foundation model you want to use. Industries that deal with heavy compliance, like finance and healthcare, they're already scrambling to build these shields right now because trying to scale AI without them is basically a recipe for a massive reputational disaster. Which brings up a really fascinating contrast. On one side, you've got the shiny, headline-grabbing tools, generative AI and foundation models, which, as we just saw, are currently stalling out in the trough of disillusionment. But on the other side, you have the vital scaffolding, things like model ops, AI engineering, and responsible AI. Now, these disciplines might not make the front page of the news, but Gartner notes they are rapidly approaching what they call the plateau of productivity. They're the quiet, behind-the-scenes engines that are actually making enterprise AI work.
Section 4. The Rise of Multimodal AI. Let's shift our gaze a bit and look at what's coming over the next 2 to 5 years, because we are definitely moving way beyond text-only chatbots. Multimodal AI is the next massive leap. We're talking about systems that can reason across text, images, audio, and video all at the exact same time. Think about the potential business value there. In healthcare, an AI could combine visual medical imaging directly with written patient notes. Or in retail, analyzing live video of customer behavior right alongside their real-time transaction data. The value there expands exponentially, but it's also going to demand vastly more complex infrastructure and incredibly clean data to pull off.
Section 5. A strategic roadmap to ROI. All right, so we know the pitfalls and we know the future is multimodal. How do organizations actually win this game? Well, Gartner's data strongly suggests that operational discipline, not just blindly rushing to experiment as fast as possible, is what truly separates the market leaders from the laggards. To get from chaotic pilots to deployments that actually generate real value, you absolutely need a structured roadmap.
Let's break down exactly what that realistic timeline looks like. Over the next 90 days, leaders need to map out their AI footprint and ruthlessly realign their budgets away from endless, shiny experiments and put that money into foundational infrastructure, like model ops. Then, looking at the 6 to 12-month window, the focus has to shift toward establishing a formal AI practice, locking in those TRISM governance controls, and maybe launching a really targeted multimodal pilot. Finally, in the 1 to 3 year timeframe, it's all about institutionalizing, creating proprietary data assets and maintaining a strict AI bill of materials so you know exactly which models and what data are running inside your solutions at all times.
To actually execute that timeline, you need a solid preparation framework for both your tech and your teams. First off, you've got to appoint a senior AI leader with real, actual accountability. Next, stop treating governance like an annoying cost center and start using it as a client-facing value prop. Literally, go tell your clients how safe and secure your AI is. You also need to develop reusable engineering pipelines, build systems where models are portable so you aren't locked into one vendor forever, and start treating your own QA logs and delivery telemetry as highly valuable assets. Simply put, infrastructure decisions today have to be strategic long-term hedges, not just quick tactical purchases. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a provocative question to really test your own organization's AI maturity. If an AI tool fails mid-project today, can your team seamlessly revert back to traditional methods without missing a single beat? If a client asks for the chain of custody on a dataset and they need it within 48 hours, can you actually provide it? Look, AI is no longer just a flashy science experiment, it is rapidly becoming the core operating system of the modern enterprise. Build your scaffolding now, and you'll climb right out of that trough and straight onto the plateau of productivity. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.